how we show up in the present room that we're in, whether that is a leadership meeting or at our family dinner table, is very little about what's actually happening in the current room and way more about what's happened inside of us a long time ago. I want to share more about that today because I think it's something missed a lot in leadership, especially over the years as we've had this myth that work should be separate from your personal life. But seriously, you take your human being to work every day. And the things that happened to you in the past absolutely influence and impact your decisions in the present, whether you think they do or not. And I'm going to share this example with you today. And to do that, I have some show and tell here with me, which I'll get to in a minute. But over the weekend, on Saturday, I played with a new pickleball group. I'm a beginning pickleball player. I'm having fun learning the sport, but the advanced group that plays earlier than me was missing one person, and so they invited me to come up and play with the more experienced group. And then on Sunday, I met a new group of entrepreneur people here in the community that I live in now. So two things each day that stretched me a little bit. Well, on Saturday after I played pickleball, I was done and I played a little bit earlier, so I thought, I'd love to pop by a coffee shop or go have a cup of coffee or something. That's one of my favorite things to do. And then I thought, I haven't actually treated myself to a donut for a while. And chocolate donuts are something that I love, but most genuinely, I have eaten chocolate donuts as a comfort food. And so I checked in with myself and I thought, do I really, am I stressed about something or what? Why do I want a chocolate donut? I'm like, nothing really apparently was there. Wasn't superly craving one, but it just sounded like a good idea. So I'm like, okay, great. I'm going to treat myself to a chocolate donut, even though that's not really an item that's in my diet anymore. So did that. And then on Sunday, after I'd been to the Entrepreneur Mastermind, the location where I met was a different part of town I hadn't been in much. There was also a new coffee shop there. So I thought, oh man, I'm going to pop in. I get to try out yet another new coffee shop. And when I went in there, they had a selection of muffins. Again, muffins, not something typically in my diet anymore. But I thought, I haven't had one of those in a long time. Maybe I'll try it. So I bought the muffin, ate the muffin. It was really a very unremarkable muffin. But then as I got to thinking about it, I thought, now, it's very interesting that 2 days in a row, I ate foods that are totally really not in my diet anymore. And then that's when I started going what's going on here? Well, I'll tell you that as a child, chocolate donuts were my comfort food. I can remember about as early as 5 years old when I was home relatively by myself. My dad was there, but he was injured and he was in a recovery process. So I really was kind of on my own. And I remember eating chocolate donuts. It's probably comforting myself. I don't know, probably felt a little bit lonely at the time, maybe a little bit stressed. And so I was noticing how, as I stepped back from the weekend situation and reflected, both of those situations required me to step up into a space where I was becoming a little bit more visible. I was meeting new groups of people and really stretching myself a little bit. And it caused enough wobble in my nervous system that I went both days and got something to eat that I wouldn't normally eat. And the key to that is that even when we're very self-aware about our patterns, the experiences that we've had can still show up in the room. Now, what that would have looked like for me years ago was I would have been maybe even avoided going to the events, or I would have, preferenced the pickleball group. I would have said a lot of, oh, hey, I'm a beginner, so, be patient with me. And I didn't do a lot of that. I just challenged myself to step in and play at the level that I could play. So the reason that I feel like this story is important is when we are in conversation, in the workplace, at home, anytime we feel a little bit of an internal wobble, we might be tempted to blame it on what's happening in the room. And that's not to say that there's not dynamics that are influencing that, but more likely the dynamics are triggering something to show up that relates to an earlier experience in our life. And if we're not self-aware in looking at that, we can end up repeating a lot of patterns. We can talk too much, or we can not talk enough, or we can avoid, or we can take control. Those are all like coping strategies that we can tend to take. And it really is when we feel exposed or vulnerable or something's triggered us, our system looks for a way to regulate itself. And those are the coping strategies: pushing, proving, performing, or avoiding, hesitating, holding back. And sometimes it just shows up as buying a donut or a muffin. So my encouragement to you is you have to consider the whole of your human being as you relate to leadership in your life today. Because I can almost guarantee you that the points where you're struggling today to speak up, to deal with a conflict situation, to hold someone accountable, to hold yourself accountable, if you're procrastinating, none of those things actually relate to what's happening in the room today, but most likely to things that happened a long time ago. And you can read Atomic Habits, and you can do all sorts of different things and you will do that with limited success until you actually go back and rewind and look at the root thing that caused that. Now, maybe like me, you're not ever going to unwind that completely. You might still go buy a chocolate donut now and then, no judgment. But if we don't understand those things, we're limiting our influence and our impact that we have the potential to bring in life. All right. Let me know what your foible is. If you know a way that your nervous system overcompensates, leave me a message. Leave a comment below.